Hello, fourth grade. We're going to be reading this story called Freedom at Fort Moss. It's a historical fiction story, so it's going to be placed back in an older era or years. I think right here it says September 1750 or 1754. And this week's essential question is, why is it important to keep a record of the past? So I know we did some writing about what's going on in our present right now, but we're going to be learning a little why it's important to keep a record of the past.
Shared read. Genre, historical fiction. Freedom at Fort Mose. In September of 1754, 12-year-old Lucius Jackson and his family had been living at Fort Mose in St. Augustine, Florida, for a year. They were part of a group who had escaped from a plantation in South Carolina. They knew Fort Mose was a place of refuge for runaways. People were willing to suffer and endure the treacherous journey there for the promise of freedom. While he was at Fort Mose, Lucius kept a diary. 17th September, 1754. It has been raining for a week now. This weather reminds me of learning to read back in Charleston. When the rains came, we couldn't work in the fields and had to stay in the cabins. Mr. Slocum, the landowner, detested getting his boots wet, so he rarely came to check on us. He thought all we knew was work and obedience. Miss Celia took a risk writing letters and words on the dirt floor for us children to learn. As the eldest person in our cabin, she said it was a risk she was willing to take. Learning to read was easy for me because I liked turning letters into words and words into ideas. I believe that reading is a gift. Mr. Samuel Cantor believes this too. He is a farmer who lives nearby and who gave me this fine diary. He said, "Lucius, in years to come, people can read about this place and understand what we risked to gain freedom."
Um, this might be a question we ask you guys is, do you think being able to read is a gift?
8th October, 1754. Last night, I went on patrol with my father. My duty is to walk along the wall of the fort looking for anything unusual. It has been a while since we came under attack, but we cannot let down our guard. We also listen for people who may be seeking freedom, as we did a year ago. While on patrol, I thought about the night my family came to Fort Mose, and how scared but hopeful we felt as we entered through the big gates. I must stop writing now. It is my turn to gather palm fronds, which we lay in the sun to dry. Once they are dried, we use them to repair huts and build new ones. Each week, more people come to the fort. Our priest, Father de las Casas, keeps the records. There are almost 100 people now. 26th October, 1754. Last week, a family arrived from Virginia. They were starved and weak beyond belief. My mother gave them clean clothes to replace the ones they had been wearing. Their old clothes were discarded. I tried to talk to the boy, who is about my age, but he ignored me. Later, I tried again to speak to the boy, whose name is Will. I showed him this diary and explained that it depicts as accurately as possible what life at Fort Mose is like. He seemed surprised and asked, "You know how to read and write?" "Yes," I told him. He looked at me in silence, but I could see a question in his eyes. "Do you want to learn?" I asked. "Is it not dangerous?" he asked quietly, looking around to see if anyone could hear us. I smiled, remembering how long it took me to understand what freedom meant. "Will, here at Fort Mose, you are free to learn, and I am free to teach you." We began our lessons right away.
This story was definitely really unique. Gave us some interesting information, and there's going to be some questions for you to answer below. So make sure you answer those questions.